Imagine the night has grown quiet and the world around you is fading. The wind outside your window only whispers, and the fire in the hearth is now just embers. Now, close your eyes. Breathe slowly. We are going on a journey back to a time long before you were born. A time when hours passed slowly, and life followed the ringing of tiny bells, not electronic alerts. Imagine you are nobody. You were not born in a warm, comfortable room. You are not a noble, not a landowner, not a child of wealth, not bright, not silent. It is vast, filled with long hallways, high ceilings, and thick carpets that absorb footsteps. But it is not yours. You do not live in the main rooms. Once in a while, you stand by the back window and see the blooming garden, but you may not enter. All beauty is for others. Your life is not to be enjoyed. Your life is to serve. Just the sound of an iron bell echoing from the kitchen. No war you win. No statue remembers you. But without you, the house crumbles. Without you, food never reaches the table. Listen to the servant's shoes in the hallway. You're the water in the bucket. You're a life quietly burning behind walls too thick for morning light to pass through. Beds never stay warm. Bells are never answered. Scrub floors, mop stairs, iron sheets as long and stiff as altar cloths. Your time only moves from one task to the next. Your face is unknown to guests, but your mistakes become household gossip. The first call. You must light fires in 7 rooms before 6 in the morning. Only soft whispers. No complaints. No tears. No loud sounds. The house must stay quiet. The master should not be aware you exist. Your presence must be as smooth as the ticking of a wall clock. Work without disturbing, move without trace. You carry buckets, firewood, and matches. No one says thank you. It is your duty. You never sit on the drawing room's soft chairs. Your life unfolds behind hidden doors, narrow staircases, and damp-smelling basements. You are someone who wakes before dawn and sleeps after all the lights are turned off. You are a servant in a grand country house in Victorian England. That house is not what you see in modern magazines. Every day feels the same. You wear gray or black clothes, depending on your master. The uniform is rough and must always be neat. You comb your hair back and do not speak unless spoken to. You are the shadow of the house, always present but unseen, always working but unheard. You rise when the world is still dark. Cold clings to your bones. No warm blanket, no breakfast waiting. After that, you clean the ashes, dust the tables you will never use as a guest, and in the middle of it all, you rarely speak. Once in a while, you smell the scent of fresh bread from the oven, but you may not taste it. This is the world not written by grand histories. And tonight, we will step into your day. Slowly, one step, 1 hour, one task that never ends. 5 in the morning. The world is still asleep, but you are awake. Your eyes are heavy, but you know that time does not wait. In a cramped basement room, you reach for a basin of cold water. You splash it onto your face. No mirror, no scented soap, Just water, hands, and dim candlelight. You dress as quickly as possible. Your black uniform is still damp at the collar, not fully dry from last night. A mountain of linen waits. Dinner napkins, tablecloths, bed sheets, underclothes. But you know its tone. It comes from the youngest child's room. Perhaps warm water is needed. Or perhaps her doll fell to the floor and needs picking up. Whatever the reason, you must go. There is no just a minute. There is no later. You will not eat. You only help prepare. The table must be set with precision. Large spoon on the right. Napkin folded into a triangle. Each chair pulled 18 centimeters from the edge. No more. All must be folded precisely, as if never touched. The water in the washing basin begins to freeze. Silent. At the top, you knock once. No answer. You enter gently. The child is awake. Her face sleepy, blank. She points to the floor. Only cold work, quiet breath, and the ticking of an old clock that never stops. A tick that follows every move you make. Until you forget who you are outside the uniform. You pick up her doll. She does not say thank you. But you smile softly and leave. But you must dip your hands. No gloves, no heated tank. 12 more hours remain. 12 hours without pause, without sound, without space to be yourself. You wash like your ancestors, but without land, without harvest. Only someone else is washing, every day, without end. Tea too hot sparks the cook's fury. You learn to read faces without words. Body language becomes your compass. Because you may not speak, and you may not appear afraid. The strike of the match on the rough surface sounds like something from another age. A small flame appears, flickering. You feel warmth for a moment, but only for a moment. Your body still shivers, but there is no choice. You comb your hair, button your shirt, and reach for your old, wooden stiff shoes. They will make a sound on the stone floor, but you try to walk as quietly as you can. In the parlor, the reading room, the master bedroom, guest rooms, the library, the music room, and the family sitting room. Each must burn evenly, without smoke. Yesterday's ashes are quietly removed. No mess allowed. The house must appear untouched by labor, as if magic keeps it warm and clean. But you are the hands behind the magic. Your steps lead to the dark kitchen. The fire is still out. You must start it. Take the coal, stack the kindling. Light the first flame. You light an extra candle and open the storehouse door. Cold air rushes in, stabbing your bones. You must bring more firewood for trips back and forth. The path behind the house is muddy. Your shoes are wet. But you cannot be slow. If the parlor fire is not burning by the time the lady comes down, you could lose your place. And if you lose your place, there is nowhere else for you to go. This morning, you light 7 fireplaces. After the fires, you head to the laundry room. A bell rings, not loud. You climb the back stairs. A narrow staircase never used by guests. Its walls are damp. Your steps must be slow. The new day has begun, but you are already tired. Unfortunately, it is only 7 in the morning. You return to the kitchen where the cook is starting breakfast. Behind all beauty, there is a constant tension. One misplaced plate invites scolding. This is morning as a servant. No whistle blows, no cheerful greeting. By 9 in the morning, the house begins to wake. Footsteps echo from the upper floors. Dresses sweep across the floor. Heels strike wooden panels. Children giggle softly. Kitchen staff rush past and the bells ring more often. You, meanwhile, do not have time to notice. Your hands are still busy with laundry, or wiping windows, or helping the milkman who arrives soaked and tired. The first guest descends, an old man with a thick wool coat and a mustache like a broom. He does not know your name, but you know his habits. If he turns, you lower your head slightly. If he says that's enough, you walk away without a word. But you understand from the way he checks his pocket watch or taps his cane on the floor that every delay can be punishment. But you know you are not part of that world. You belong to the house, not to history. Take a short breath. The day is not over, not even halfway. You read his posture because he does not give instructions. He only responds to your mistakes. If he forgets you're there, it means you've done your job correctly. He always wants his tea not too hot, not too weak. Maybe a piece of dry bread. No dining table. Just a corner behind the dish rack. There, you see the faces of your fellow servants. Their eyes are dull, their hands dirty, but everyone is quiet. Words are only spoken when absolutely necessary. Even rest feels like a chore to be completed in silence. Plain white cup, no painted ones. Teaspoon clean and dry, not glossy from soap. It is long and cold. No windows. Light only from dim candles barely clinging to life. Windows opened for fresh air, though you rarely breathe the same. You draw the curtains slowly, glance at the vast garden full of flowers, fountains, and birds. But it is not yours. You are only allowed to polish the glass. At the far end, you can hear laughter from the dining room. But you do not know what is funny. You are not part of that story. You are the shadow, ensuring the glasses are full and knives are sharp. You stand at the edge of the room as he sits, silent, never too close. Never meet his eyes. In the kitchen, you help prepare lunch. Vegetables are cut into tiny pieces. Meat simmered gently. You won't taste any of it. You only smell it, touch it, serve it. Your hands know the food, but your mouth never does. You work for meals you do not eat. Sometimes you walk behind the dining room in a narrow hallway never used by the family. Sometimes Mary, sometimes Rose, sometimes just servant. They laugh, run, cry, or shout. You must be patient, always gentle. Even when they spill tea on your clothes or pull your hair while giggling. No anger, no reaction. No signs of exhaustion. By midday, you clean the bedrooms. Sheets pulled tight, no wrinkles allowed. Pillows arranged symmetrically. Sometimes you watch the children. They call you by names, not your own. There are moments when you pass the master in the hallway. He is tall, bearded, rarely speaks. You overhear conversations in the reading room. Politics, newspapers, India, Africa, other colonies. You do not understand every word. At 2 o'clock, you finally sit down in the kitchen. Maybe drink leftover tea. And as you swallow your last bite, the bell rings again. A single long chime. The sign that afternoon tea must soon be served. You rise slowly. Evening arrives slowly, but not gently. Sunlight leans through the tall windows, casting long lines across the dining room floor. But you have no time to enjoy the beauty. The day grows more demanding. Bells ring more often. Footsteps multiply. Voices rise. The evening meal is approaching, and everything must be perfect. You return to the kitchen. The air is filled with a sharp smell of spices, broth, and baked bread. Even the fold of the napkin is checked 3 times. This is not about food. It is about impression. And you are the invisible hand that shapes that impression. The head cook stands like a small king in his domain. The butler nods. You move forward. 1 foot in front of the other. Silent, lowered head. Set the plate. Step back. Repeat 12 times. You don't write it down. You record it in your memory. It's part of your job to know without being told, to understand without explanation, each with the same rhythm, no expression. Not a single word is meant for you. Because someone must clear the table when they're done. Someone must take away the bones and crumbs. And the night is not over yet. The white cloth is pressed flat. Porcelain plates placed with precise distance. Fork on the left, spoon on the right. Crystal glasses must shine. No smudges, no fingerprints. Flowers in the center must be fresh and even. You smell the roasted meat, so rich, so warm. But you only stand, waiting, again. Not for yourself, but because your hands will soon hold another person's cutlery. And they must not know those hands have touched coal, mud, or chicken blood. Even a slight wilt will be noticed. First impressions matter more than how you feel. He does not like being asked twice. He does not like noise. You stand quietly, waiting for instruction. When he points, you move quickly. Lift the tray. Set it on the cooling rack. Hand him the right knife. Do not speak. Do not spill. Meanwhile, in the grand dining room, other servants begin to prepare the table. The butler turns sharply. No one speaks. A scolding is not needed. Everyone knows the rule. A servant must not make a sound louder than the ticking of the clock. You move quietly between the large chairs, making sure everything is symmetrical. Your steps must be soft. No plates must shift. No soup must spill. Every second in that hallway feels like an exam. The table is full of strangers whose complaints could end your future with one word. As the clock strikes 5, you return to a small room behind the kitchen. There is an old sink. You wash your hands, scrubbing under your nails. Your face sweats. Your arms ache. But there is no time to sit. Someone drops a spoon. You are given a small tray with appetizers. You must carry it from the kitchen to the dining room. You stand behind the curtain, waiting for the signal. Between courses, you notice little things. The host looks tired. The lady speaks softly. The foreign guest uses his fork differently, but you keep it all inside. When the main course is finished, you return to the kitchen. Your hands are trembling. Your stomach is empty. And while the guests laugh, while they toast and speak of things you don't understand, you listen from behind the door. The sun has sunk behind the garden. Golden light has turned to gray, and gray has dissolved into darkness. The grand house grows dim again. Curtains are drawn. Candles are lit one by one. But for the servants, night is not a time for rest. Night is the time to erase footprints. Soiled linens must be soaked immediately. Spoons, forks, and knives are washed in hot water that clouds your eyes with steam. But you must keep scrubbing. The sounds of splashing, metal on metal, and quiet clinks become your evening symphony. After the guests leave the dining room, you move quickly. Plates are gathered, glasses return to the kitchen. But his eyes are sharp, and you know one wrong placement of a soup bowl could mean your name disappears from next week's schedule. In this house, small mistakes can mean the loss of a bed. The butler checks the list. He reviews everything for order. He does not smile. He does not complain. A bottle of warm water slipped under the sheet. Curtains drawn fully. A small room, low, with stone walls and a ceiling that drips in the rainy season. No candle, only a bit of light seeping through wooden cracks. On your narrow bed, you sit slowly. Your shoes come off, not for comfort, but because your feet are too numb to feel anything. Windows shut, and finally, you step backward out of the room like an actor leaving the stage. You stare at the stone ceiling and try not to think of tomorrow. But you know it will be the same, just like today, just like yesterday, just like the years before. But behind its walls, Bodhi's lie still too tired to dream. Without applause, you take a mop and begin wiping the dining room floor. It must be spotless. No crumbs, no shoe marks. The floor must look untouched. Meanwhile, upstairs, the masters may be preparing for bed. Backstairs, as always, dark and narrow. In your hand, a basin of hot water. You must bring it to the guest bathroom. Ash from the morning is carried to the far corner of the yard. It is dark there, silent, and the soil is always damp. The musty smell sticks to your shoes, but you're used to it. You knock softly. No reply. You enter with your head bowed, pour the water into the marble bowl, and leave without a sound. All must be finished by 9 o'clock, 'cause after that, the upper corridors must be silent. Perhaps reading, perhaps speaking of letters from India, or rising sugar prices. But you will never know those conversations. You only know not to interrupt them. After the dining room, you climb to the upper floor. You pass through a long hallway. Its walls are covered in old paintings. The eyes on the canvas watch you as if they know you don't belong. But you don't flinch. You walk straight. No turning. No pausing. Back downstairs, you help arrange coal for the night fires. The wood must last until dawn. The clock shows 10 at night, but you are not done. The master and lady's bed must be checked. Blankets stretched. You return to the basement. That is where your bed is. You pull up a thin blanket. Your hands are still dirty, but you're too tired to wash. In the distance, you hear the great clock strike. 12 times, midnight, and at last the house is truly silent. Silent like a grave. You lie with your back against the cold stone wall. Above you, the ceiling is the same as yesterday and will be the same tomorrow. No stars, no moon. Only the shadow of beams stretched across the low roof. A weariness not only from the muscles, but from the soul. A soul that is folded, pressed, and hidden daily behind polite smiles and silent footsteps. But in this silence, you find something not written in history books, something unspoken by the gentry, perhaps in a distant village. Perhaps they've forgotten your face. You never had time to write. You simply take a slow breath, close your eyes, and surrender to the dark. Because tomorrow, it all begins again. Through it, you saw the garden, perfectly trimmed grass, a trickling fountain. But you were on the other side of the glass. You could see it, but not touch it. You could hear the birds, but they were not yours. Even if you had, you wouldn't know what to say. How do you explain a life so quiet, so neat, and yet so hollow? A life walked without name or trace. This quiet, like a thin blanket covering all, is the only thing you truly own. No sound, only your heartbeat. Sometimes the faint echo of steps above. Perhaps another servant still working. Perhaps a rat crossing the floorboards. But you do not rise. You let it pass. There is no energy left to feel fear or anger or even curiosity. Your body slowly sinks into a weariness that cannot be explained. You think of your family, wherever they may be. The house becomes a silent ship sailing a dark sea. And you, one of its passengers, have no idea where it's headed. But you know your role. Rise in the morning, work in silence, disappear at dusk. And then you remember the window you cleaned earlier. The night gently covers all. Inside you, a question remains unspoken. Is this life real? Do I exist, but you do not wait for answers? And so the night ends, without applause, without good night. Only you and the ticking of time. In a house this large, built from stone and history, everyone has their place. But not all places are equal. Some live above, others are only allowed below. You are trained not just to serve, but to disappear. Even your footsteps in the hallway are too loud if heard. And if you talk too long to another servant in the kitchen, the butler will come, say nothing, and simply look. That is enough. There are grand rooms with tall windows and carpets from India. And there are narrow spaces with straw beds and damp air. Nothing needs to be said. You see the glint of jewels on the lady's neck. Hear the piano from the music room. Smell the roses and soaps you'll never use. They discuss policies, wars, taxes, and, sometimes, the servants themselves. And if you complain, that could be your last day here. So pain is hidden. There is no room for anger, no space for sadness. Even tears must fall when no one sees. They say we and they and you are neither. You are only the ghost behind the chair, delivering meals without a sound. Maintained by tradition, by fear, and by reverence born from hunger. Everyone knows their place. Even in silence, their bodies say it. You are not part of this table. You are part of the walls, the floors, the shadows. But these are like dreams touched only through the air. Slowly, you learn not to want, because desire is a wound a servant must not carry. From your first day, you understood. You must not go to the upper floor unless summoned. You must not sit, must not speak first, must not be seen when they dine. This structure is unwritten, but stronger than law. Around you, wealth is part of daily scenery, but it is not yours. You hear the master speak of the common people with calm voice, stirring his silver spoon in porcelain. You know, too, that if you fall ill, no doctor will be called. If you're hurt, you'll be replaced. Sometimes you wonder, do they know there is life beneath their feet? Or have you mastered silence so well they truly forget you exist? This system is not just a rule, 'tis the breath of the era. Though your life is lived in shadows, you are not alone. There are others like you. They too rise before dawn and sleep only after every light is out. Even when you sit briefly behind the kitchen with stale bread in hand, silence is more common than greeting. A laundry girl once helped hide a broken plate to spare you from punishment. No thank yous, no promises of return. Just small gestures that say, I see you, and I won't let you fall alone. The ones who understand that sometimes surviving isn't about food. It's about still standing at the end of the day. But within that silence is an understanding that needs no explanation. A language without words. Some are old, backs bent, eyes dim, but their hands still remember how to fold a tablecloth without a wrinkle. Others are young, fresh from the village, eyes once full of hope, now slowly fading, warning each other when someone walks too close to the main staircase. Sometimes just one look says enough. Be careful. Today is not a good day. Their beds left empty, the sheets no longer warmed by a body. No farewells, no explanation. Just a room that becomes suddenly quieter. Sometimes you wonder where they went. Sometimes you're too afraid to ask. You do not speak much with them. Not because you don't want to, but because time won't allow it. You live between bells and lists. There is a servant who never speaks, but once gave you half of their bread when you were hungry. Your lives move like a quiet rhythm, practiced over years. Taking turns to fetch water. Reminding one another when the butler is angry. And among them, you see a mirror of yourself. Equally unmentioned in letters. Equally absent from history books. But they are your small world. But not all of them last. Some leave. Never return to the house. And so the bonds form, not through parties, not through embraces, but through tasks silently shared, through eyes that meet when everyone else is bowed, through the quiet knowing that no one truly cares except each other. Sometimes, in between work and silence, the memories return. not with loud voices or clear images, but like soft mist rising from damp earth. You sit on the edge of your narrow bed, alone, and suddenly you smell the scent of rain on farmland. You hear a rooster's call not from the kitchen, but from the small yard where you once grew up. You don't know if they wait for your return, but one thing is certain: if you went back now, they might not recognize you, because living in this house has changed you. The way you walk, the way you speak. So you close your eyes, letting the memories come and go like waves on the shore. There's nothing you can hold, nothing you can bring back. But each memory is a quiet reminder that you were once someone before you became a shadow in another house. Even the way you measure time shaped by stone walls, daily tasks, and the voice of command. Time felt slow there. No bells, no uniforms. Just your mother calling you home as the sun dipped low. You try to remember your father's face, but it grows more distant. Only a shadow remains, a man with rough hands and a deep voice, laughing when you fell in the mud. There are moments while ironing the master's garments when you remember your first time holding a stone iron at your grandmother's house. These memories come like gentle wind, uninvited, brief, but enough to make your chest tighten. You remember your brother's hand pulling you from the river. Now, you're not even sure of his eye color. In this house, you've lost more than your freedom. Slowly, you've lost the memory of who you were. There are moments while washing linen behind the house when cold water touches your skin and you suddenly recall scrubbing clothes in the village river. You don't know if they're still alive. You once had a nickname at home, a small name spoken with laughter. Now you are called by one word: servant. And sometimes you forget what it feels like to be called with love, but you don't cry. Tears here are a luxury. The seasons change without a sound. No announcements, no celebrations. Only dew turning to frost, wind growing sharper, and leaves slowly losing their color. From the small kitchen window, you watch the same tree standing still in the corner of the back garden. Once light green, then golden, then bare. But you remain in the same place, washing the same dishes, hearing the same bell. Sweat drips from your brow before the sun even reaches its peak. Guests arrive more often. Garden parties, laughter outside, music from the gramophone. But you simply pass by, carrying trays, avoiding eyes, and slipping back into the shadows. Spring arrives with the scent of wet earth. Flowers bloom in the front garden, planted by other hands, but watered by yours. Each morning you fill the iron can, walk slowly over the slippery ground. You know those flowers aren't yours, but you know when they will bloom. You recognize each leaf. In secret, you give some of them names. That is your small secret. Then comes summer. Its heat pierces through the thin uniform you wear. The kitchen turns into a constant furnace. Autumn is quieter. Leaves fall and cover the stone path. You sweep them every morning, only to see them scattered again by evening. Like your work, cleaned, dirtied, repeated. Dry leaves crunch underfoot, and you begin to understand that even time can be heard diff. You are quiet enough, and when winter comes, the house becomes a frozen stone cave. Fires are lit in every hearth, but the basement remains cold. But you stay, sweeping leaves, scrubbing floors, fetching water. No one celebrates your birthday. No one asks what your favorite season is. Time becomes like the floors of this house, always clean, always orderly, but never yours. You sleep in full clothing. Water in buckets freezes overnight. Your fingers go numb while washing, but the task list does not change. There is no cold in the orders. The seasons may come and go. Strangely, amidst all the exhaustion and loneliness, you begin to find a different kind of beauty. Not the beauty of glittering evening gowns or chandeliers in grand halls, but small, silent beauty. Like the morning light creeping through the kitchen window, and the floor slick with soapy water, there's space to breathe. No one sees you, no voices call. Only your own breath and the faint shine on the tiles you polish. In that moment, you feel ... present, even if only briefly. Or the sound of a spoon touching porcelain in a quiet rhythm. Each time you want to give up, your body keeps moving. And behind that motion is a quiet will that doesn't extinguish. Perhaps not hope, but a soft resilience. The sheets you smoothed bring someone a better night's sleep. The fire you lit warms a room you'll never enter. You are unseen, but you are real. Like the roots of an old tree still clinging to the soil despite the storms each year. Amid endless work, there are moments that do not hurt. And that's enough to make it through one more day. But in that reflection, you see a calmness not owned by those upstairs. They live by command. You live by awareness. The awareness that you have given all your time, all your strength to make this house function. And no one can take that truth away. You learn to appreciate silence. In those early hours when the house still sleeps, when it's just you. You begin to understand that pain, when met without anger, can transform into a strange kind of strength. You breathe in silence and you rise again tomorrow. Sometimes, you glance into the old servant's mirror in the hallway. Your face pale, your eyes sunken, your hair untamed. You know the world will never write your name. There will be no statues or history books marking your service, but the flowers you watered still bloom. And in that reality, there is beauty. A beauty not tied to praise, not tied to power, but drawn from one simple fact. You exist. You endure. In a place like this, you learn that life's meaning doesn't always arrive in grand forms. Not in applause, achievement, or triumph. Sometimes, meaning comes quietly, without a sign, just felt in the chest, like a faint voice beneath all the busyness, not shining, not picked up by anyone, but still present, still enduring, still part of the greater flow. You don't change the current, but you help it keep moving. And sometimes, that is enough. You are not the lead character, not the shaper of history, but you are here. You witness, you know, and that too is a form of being. But in that acceptance, you feel free. No need to be someone, no need to prove anything, just to be quietly, to be with full awareness. You begin to understand that the world is not fair, and perhaps never will be. But that unfairness shapes a silent space within you, a space no one else can fill except with understanding. You learn that not all wounds must be healed. Some wounds are meant to be carried, kept, made part of who you are. For from them grows a strength that cannot be displayed, only felt. You start to see yourself as a small stone at the riverbed. You realize that all along, you haven't been seeking recognition. What you seek is quiet acknowledgement that you are still human. That even though the world treats you as a shadow, you know, within, there is still a light that doesn't go out. Not hoping, not lamenting. Just still, like the night sky that needs no explanation. Because you know, sometimes it's enough to be the sky. Vast, silent, and filled with things unseen, yet still undeniably there. That light isn't dazzling, but warm, glowing gently each time you do something with full attention, even if it's just sweeping the floor. There is a kind of peace that cannot be explained when you accept that your life won't be spectacular, that perhaps you'll die unknown to anyone. And when night comes again, when all the lights in the house are out, you sit at the edge of your bed. Time in this house is not marked by calendars, not by birthdays or harvest seasons. Time moves in quieter ways, seen in your slowing steps, in your heavier breath when climbing stairs, in the ache in your joints as you carry a bucket of hot water. No one asks how old you are now. No one counts the years since you first arrived. But you know. Your body knows. Age here is not a number. It's the sound your knees make when rising from a crouch. It's the pace at which you fold sheets once done before sunrise, now finished when the sun begins to tilt. Age is the fading memory of how many servant rooms you've moved through, how many faces came and left without farewell. Age is the quiet ma'am from younger servants who Dante realized they've said it. And you realize there was never a clear line between young and old. Like an old tree that no longer rises, but whose roots run deeper. Not all age brings answers. But a quiet age, without complaint, is sometimes wiser than the loudest voice. And you, in your silence, have grown old in a way that is unremarkable, yet undeniable. You never truly felt like an adult because you never had a youth. You started working, started serving, started bowing. And now, at an age you don't mention to anyone, you feel as though time never gave you space to groan, lead to survive. You watch the household's guests age differently. They sit more, given soft chairs, told stories, celebrated with birthday candles in gilded cakes. But you age in silence. No party, no candles. A kitchen cloth you once stitched, now frayed. A wooden spoon broken. Shoes that once carried you, but can no longer climb the upper floor. You begin to see that age here is measured by how much you've given, not how much you've received. Just one day, much like the last, only slightly heavier. Sometimes, when the night is too still, you count age, not in years, but in objects worn in your hands. And though your body weakens, a strange calm begins to grow. The day grows old. The light from the kitchen window shifts, no longer pale gold, but silver gray, fading softly. Footsteps in the hallway grow fewer. Doors that once slammed now only click faintly. The house begins to quiet, but you remain awake, wiping the last table, drawing the loose curtain, and making sure the kitchen fire is truly out. You sit for a moment, letting your body adjust to stillness. There is no music, no voices. Only the faint tremble from the world above, perhaps the master's steps, perhaps the wind brushing the roof. You lay down your body, draw the thin blanket close, and gaze at the cracked ceiling. No loud prayers, no grand wishes. Just a whisper in your heart, may tomorrow come slowly. And if it doesn't, you will not demand it. No one sees. No one knows you are still there, while everyone else has returned to their rooms. Space to breathe. Space where no one asks anything of you. In that space, you are again human, not a servant, not a voice behind a door, but someone still capable of fatigue, of hunger, of life. Your body feels heavy, but you are not in a hurry. You know no one is waiting for you. There's no set hour for rest, but neither is there anyone who will disturb you if you move slowly. So you move gently, like water retreating at dusk. Each motion is not just duty, it becomes a quiet ritual. It's a small reverence for the day that is now done. You step into your small room. The oil lamp is lit with a soft spark. The walls are damp, the floor cold. But you are used to it. In that silence, you do not feel empty. Instead, there is space. The night offers you no promises. No sweet dreams, no embraces or warmth. But you accept it as it is. The night air begins to slip through the cracks in the wooden window. Cold, but not the kind of cold that shocks. A familiar cold, one you've known for years, not disturbing. Just a quiet reminder that night has fully arrived. The oil lamp in the corner dims. Your shadow on the wall sways gently, then fades, as if you too are dissolving into the night. Because you know tomorrow will arrive on its own, bringing the bell, the list of chores, the footsteps you must follow again. But tonight, this very moment, you are only being. Not demanding, not demanded. Just present between slow breaths and a silent ceiling. Your body lies still. Not just from fatigue, but because the world inside you is now quieter than the world outside. And in that stillness, you begin to disappear not in escape, but in acceptance. Your back touches the thin mattress that has shaped you over the years. Just fragments. The sound of wet cloth drying, the scent of old soap, the clink of utensils, the slant of afternoon light in the corridor. All of it comes and goes like small waves, carrying no message, just passing by, and you do not push them away, for in their meaningless presence you feel peace. Not comfortable, but not foreign. That is where the sense of home lies, not in softness, but in a habit quietly accepted. You take a deep breath, and in that breath, release all the sounds you've held in all day. Your thoughts begin to slow, no longer crowded with orders or schedules. You don't think about tomorrow. You don't make plans. You don't arrange hopes. Outside the window, the night wind passes like someone who doesn't wish to disturb. It brushes gently, shifts the thin curtain. You close your eyes. Then everything becomes quiet. Nothing is left to do. Nothing is left to think. Only breath, slowing gently, and a faint warmth beneath the thin blanket that hasn't truly warmed in years. Inside it, life continues in the rooms you cleaned, the beds you made, the glasses you polished until they gleamed. No moral, no great lesson, only a feeling that stillness can be a home. That life, though hard, holds soft seconds. You are quiet enough to feel them. And night, though it may come without name or promise, can be the most honest friend. But you, for tonight, are done. Not done with life, but with one long day, one moment passed with quiet and devotion. In the corner of the room, the oil lamp dies with a soft sound like a whisper. Darkness spreads without fear. It is not an enemy. It is simply the end of light that has worked all day, because time, tonight, is not a foe to chase. And in that darkness, you are still here, still breathing, still alive. But nothing more is needed of you tonight, and maybe that is the closest thing to freedom. It has stopped speaking. It sits beside you, waiting for you to sleep, and you do not resist. You surrender gently, like a small boat finally drifting to shore after wandering far, not to dock forever, but just to rest on a quiet beach. Outside, the house still stands, cold, vast, and still. There is no story to conclude. You don't know what time it is now. You don't care. So you close your eyes, not to escape, but to return. Return to the part of yourself unseen all day.